When that happened, when my mother said that, my father said there was nothing wrong with what she was saying or doing. And that's because he cared about her and did not care about me. If he had, he would have cared about my health. He would have thought about what that meant. But he did not think about it. He did not go to bed. He did not give it a second thought. He never gives my health a second thought. Same thing with the medications. Popping all these medications, did they even think to read a book? Did they think to Google maybe some side effects and see if they match? No. It didn't get a second thought. If it had, they might have seen that a lot of that issues I was having happen to be right the same issues that the medication can cause. It's right on the list, as well as these issues developed at about the same time as I was taking the medication, almost like clockwork. But that never came forward. And this is why the Nazis were awful, awful people. And this is why I support all religions. I fully support and I fully back the Jewish people, the Muslims, the Christians, the Catholics, the Buddhists. They're all good religions. But if you start thinking of one type of person as a lesser person, then the devil will go into your heart and take over. And that's what happens a lot. It does. People, that's what's happening with the police officers as well. They look at the homeless like a lesser person. So when they light that person on fire, they don't think of it as they're lighting a person on fire. If it was somebody's house, then they would be like, oh no, I could never do that. That would be arson, that somebody could get hurt. But if you tell him, oh, well, burn that homeless tent guy right over there, he goes, no problem. Because the homeless guy is not considered a person to him because he doesn't have money. And this is the big problem in society today. We have a lot of people who look at other people like not people. And this is where I'm getting at. I just want to leave this too because I'm getting sicker every year. I've spent 25 years like this. I've had 3 close calls with death already. Last 2 weeks ago, I had another seizure and my life alert bracelet was canceled. I have a lot of stuff going on that could make me just disappear or die soon or 10 years from now, or there's no really way to tell. But seeing as I almost got my head popped 2 years ago, seeing as I'm having chest palpitations on a daily basis, seeing as I've lived in mold for 8 months and it's starting to take over my body and give me lung issues, and seeing as my family, well, I shouldn't say my family, seeing as my father doesn't want to take responsibility for any of this, I have to tackle it on my own. And the problem with that is he has all the information I need. He knows all the doctors I saw. He's also a witness to my mother saying some of these crazy things. Like my sister, my brother-in-law, me, and my father were all there when my mother admitted to giving me extra medication. My father was there when I asked for a Tylenol and she gave me a pink opiate. These behaviors continued. My father was there when I overdosed at age 7. My father was there during all these events, but he doesn't want to mention it. He doesn't want to bring it up. And if he doesn't speak up, then I just don't get the help I need. If he doesn't want to admit that was right in front of him, then I'm the one that has to pay the price. I have to pay for his sins. He looked at me like a lesser person. He allowed his wife to do crazy, awful things to my body. And if he doesn't at least admit to what he knows is true, I mean, the best one that I really can try to wake him up with is the one where my sister was there. Because Valerie is a witness. She was there. Valerie was there. Her husband was there. I was there. And my father was there. So he can't say it never happened. That's usually his excuse, too. Oh, it never happened. You're crazy. You're making it up. Oh, you're just psycho. We're going to put you in a hospital. You need meds. We need to drug you. This is the response I get from my mother or my father or my aunt. Meanwhile, the response I get from the rest of the world is, oh my God, what's wrong with your health? Oh, you poor boy. Oh, you look awful. Oh, your arm muscle, your leg muscle is just doing its own thing. Oh my God, you're bleeding on your face. What are you doing on the ground? Oh my God. That's what I get. I even got it as in childhood. I got it a lot. Like when I was, I don't know, when I was going to school in Worcester, I went to school, got a great note saying I did a great job. Fantastic job. The teachers were rewarding me, smiling, saying I did a great job. They were going to grade me a great note. I brought it home smiling, and it was a good note. But my mother tried to twist around some of the words, and then she sent this crazy letter back. And then my school, when I got there, they all got scared. They looked at this letter and said, what the fuck is this? Will we give a good note saying you did a great job? And she starts acting like this. What's going on with your mother? They pull me into a chair and they ask, what is wrong with your mother? This is a crazy note she sent us. And I didn't get to see what she sent them, but I got to see the note that was sent home. And the note that got sent home said I did a great job. It was fantastic. The day went fine. But she tried to twist some of the words around in there, kind of move them up a notch, give new meaning to some of them. And it became a big issue where the school said, wow, now I know what you mean, Zach, about your mother being crazy. And by the way, I was the only kid in that school getting notes coming back and forth. I was destroyed because of that. Destroyed. My mother definitely did a lot of harm in my life. And there was a lot of witnesses to it. And there was a lot of bad decisions. I'll give you another example. I was having suicidal thoughts from multiple medications that say suicidal thoughts. I reported it to the doctor. The doctor went up, and I had even worse depression and suicidal thoughts. This fear feeling, this sinking feeling, like this fear, and your heart just beats out of control, and you end up just, you sink, and you can't get out of bed, and then you feel like just like you don't want to live no more. But then the medication wears off, and you come out of it, or you stop the medication, and then you never have to deal with that again. But they went up on the medication for a year or so. Year more. Actually, no, it was years and years and years, not a year or so. Years. At this point, I found out there was an unregistered gun in the house. Now, you got a 13-year-old suicidal kid who's already attempted suicide with aspirin on suicidal medicine that can cause suicidal thoughts. He's getting depression from these medications. He has a crazy mother acting crazy. You're shoving him all around. He's not getting a proper education. And you think it's all right to keep a gun in the house with all this mental craziness. I was afraid my mother might shoot me. She acted so nuts sometimes, throwing shoes and doing crazy stuff to my body, that I wouldn't be surprised if she shot me and then went into the room and said, Zach shot himself. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if she did that. And that scared me for years. Either these meds could make me shoot myself, or my mother might grab the gun and shoot me just because she had a crazy moment again. Now, my father, he wouldn't allow that. I always say, I hope not, but there's no way I could tell with him. He allowed so many bad things to be right in front of him. The only time I remember him really speaking up is on a drive home from Crossroads Cafe. My mother was drunk, my father was buzzed, and they both were driving home. Oh, well, my father was driving, she was in the passenger, but they shouldn't have been driving at all, but that's beside the point. That's their choice. They want to put other people in danger, women, children, things like that. That's their choice. I don't support it, but that's their choice. So at this point, she's getting drunk and belligerent. But she never gets drunk and belligerent with Dad. She always attacks me first. So she starts calling me a dog. I'm less than a dog. I'm evil. I'm awful. And this was uncalled for. It was a great night. I did nothing wrong for days. I was being a good boy. Even my father couldn't understand where this was coming from, but he let it continue. For about, I don't know, I would say 5 to 15 minutes, she continued just ranting and calling me names and trying to destroy her son's self-esteem and basically just harming me in any way she could. She was just trying to hurt me any way that she possibly could that day. And after, I don't know, 10 minutes or so of this, my father had enough. He's heard enough. He can't take any more of it because he can't walk away. See, in every other situation, he could just walk away, leave her with me, and she would continue for hours doing that to me. But in a car, he had to sit right next to her and hear her doing this. So now he couldn't pretend like it wasn't happening. There was no way he could pretend. So at this point, he says, "Who the hell do you think you are? Some queen? Some queen?" She goes, "Yes, I am. I'm the queen and I do whatever I fucking want." And then they start swearing at each other. Then they're quiet. And then it all goes away the next day. My father forgets about it. My mother forgets about it. But I sure as hell don't, because it happens to me the following week with her again. And the next week with her again. And the next week with her again. And there's pills being mixed into everything. There's just, and not only that, I used to get sick every Halloween. My mother would not want me to go out. Even after I did eventually get permission to go out, she told me I was only allowed one candy. And I would say, "Oh, that no kid only eats one candy a day from Halloween. That would probably take me a year." Well, then she would give me some meds or some pills like I normally do 3 times a day or morning, whatever. Maybe she gives me a cookie or whatever else, even though the cookie was another time. That had nothing to do with Halloween. That wasn't a Halloween day. But anyways, I used to get sick, vomiting sick, on 2 hours before Halloween every year. And then I could have no candy. I mean, yeah, they would go to the grocery store and buy a couple candies or something and put it on top of the cabinets and just give me one like a week or one once in a while and tell me to have the cookies or something. But the fact that every Halloween, like clockwork, I would get excited, get a costume, get ready to go out, and then all of a sudden get very sick all day long, almost like somebody poisoned me, and then I would recover the next day or two. Every single year until I got older, until I got to be about 13, 14 years old, or about when we moved to Chelmsford. At that point, it just disappeared. And a lot of stuff disappeared at that point. There was a lot of weird behaviors from my mother in Westford, Texas, all these places. I was getting sick, weird times. There was cookie switches and weird things going on. But after I became like 14, 15, 16, it kind of became a different type of trick. She started trying to convince me to say things to the doctor and then let the doctor take over. So she would just yell at me, scream at me to say stuff. Like one of the ones I refused to go along with her on is she wanted me to tell the doctor I was schizophrenic and I'm hearing voices. I told my mother I do not hear voices. I am not schizophrenic. I happen to live right across the hall from a schizophrenic. I know exactly what that is, and I am not that. She started screaming, hollering, getting mad, getting her nose in my face and giving me an evil look, saying, no, you're schizophrenic. You need to go in there and tell him it. You need pills now. You need medication for schizophrenia now. And she even had a conversation with my father about it too, right in front of my father, in I think it was a therapy with Dr. Rosenblum. She ended up saying that she thought I was schizophrenic and needed schizophrenic medication. The doctor said, "I'm not quite so sure about that." She got a little irritated with that answer, and that was over. And that's probably the first time I ever heard her talk about me being schizophrenic was at Dr. Rosenblum's. But at about 14, 13, maybe around that area, was when I was in the staircase in Chelmsford screaming with her that I'm not schizophrenic and that I'm not going to lie to the doctor for her. But now, after reflecting on those moments, I could have been 16. Anyways, after reflecting on those moments, I realized that that wasn't the only time she did that. She did it with a lot of different illnesses where she convinced me to repeat certain phrases. I'm depressed, I'm suicidal, just all that. Or that try to convince me that being sad means that I'm depressed. Oh, I lost my girlfriend and I'm sad. Well, that's a form of depression, my mother tried to explain to me, and I need to speak to the doctor about that, and it's called depression, and I should call it depression at the doctor's office. This is all messed up. My mother knew nothing what was going on. She just wanted a mentally ill child, and so I actually don't know why she wanted this, but it was very clear that she wanted me to be disabled in some way. That part I know. I actually don't know why. I have theories on why she wanted this, but I don't know why she actually wanted this. Why she pushed so hard to try to make me seem crippled, disabled, mentally retarded, mentally disabled. Yeah, they can't use that word no more. It'll just change again too, by the way. They just change words every about 20 years. There's a whole video I posted, I should post again, about how words have perfectly fine meanings. Then after 20 to 40 years, it changes, but then they change it again and again and again and again. So that will change too. Anyways, that's the end of my video. I hope people understand. And please go in peace, love one another, help one another, show compassion.